hop right into it. We'll start with Eric Bailey, the Tulsa World, and then go to Joe Bettner. Eric?
Hey, Pat. Just going to be a common theme, I think, today, but I wanted to ask about Ronnie Perkins and what were your thoughts on his return to the field and how much did he really inject that defense with enthusiasm with the way he played against Texas Tech?
It's big time, and then I think the most admirable thing about Perk is he hasn't changed since last year. Whenever he wasn't able to play, he was still on the field. He was on offensive defensive scout team, giving a look for the offense. He was still around, giving guys pointers. He would come to film, help the D linemen see things with the linemen, and it's just huge. Seeing them get back out there on the field, it makes everybody want to play that much harder because we know everything that Perk sacrificed, and we've seen the sacrifice he's made for us, even though he hasn't been able to play.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's go to Joe Bettner at the Norman Transcript, and then Jason Kersey.
Hey, Pat, just curious how impressed you were with, Ronnie's ability. I know he's been practicing, but just were you shocked at all how well he played on Saturday night as far as just, being dropped in kind of into the middle of the season?
Nah, not at all. I mean, that's kind of, what we expect out of Perk. Perk's been dominant, since the first day he's got here. But I think, a lot of people are, may be surprised that he looks so well. But I mean, he's been working extremely hard since, the end of last year. Like I said, he was on defensive scout team, giving a look for the offense. So, he was going against Ely, Swinson, Antoine, those guys every single day. So, he's getting, a one-on good versus good look every single day. He was competing hard, the whole time he was out. So it's no surprise that he came back as good as he did.
Thanks.
Jason Kersey, The Athletic, and then Ryan Aber.
Hey, Pat. I think after the two early season losses, a lot of people, obviously, I'm sure you're on social media, were panicked about what that meant for you guys. I'm wondering, were you guys at all, or were you at all concerned about where the team was going? And if so, how did you address that?
I don't think it was necessarily from a panic perspective because, I think from the first game, I think, it's evident that we have all the guys on our team to be the team that we want to do. It's just a matter of urgency and us being more urgent about things. It's been a little bit, not to make, we can't make an excuse with the time that we've lost, with spring ball and all that. So we just had to pick up the urgency with everything. Our practices have to be much cleaner. We have to have more intense practices, more competitive, things like that. So it was never really a panic thing because I've always been confident in the guys we have on the team. It's just, a matter of picking up our urgency and committing more to, being cleaner in practice, things like that.
Okay, let's go to Ryan Aber, the Oklahoman, and then John Hoover.
Yeah, Pat, you talked about Ronnie's scout team work and going against those offensive guys. What about Rhamondre going against the defense? What did you see from him and just the way that he handled this whole situation and the way that he bounced back or came back into lineup Saturday?
Yeah, Mondre is over there every single week, giving us a good look on scout team. And then, typically for the scout team, running backs or whatever the case may be, those are guys who may, tend to get beat up by the defensive line because, they're always in the backfield. But, Mondre gave us a unique look, being that, that's an elite back, one of the top backs in the country. So every single day, we got a good look, whether it's from tackling the big back, a guy that can make you miss in space, things like that. And then, like I said, I'm just proud of Perk, Rhamondre, and then Trey whenever he gets back. It's difficult, going from a guy who's a starter, making plays on Saturdays to, playing scout team. That takes a lot to, put your pride aside and want to be willing to do that because a lot of guys in this situation, they could have been like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm starting. I played on Saturday. That's not my position. That's not my role. Somebody else could do it. But, they put their pride aside and they were willing to, contribute to the team and give everything that they have for the team. So I'm just happy that, they're all seeing the success that, they well deserve.
Appreciate it, Pat.
Okay, John Hoover, SI Sooners, and then James Hale.
Hey, Pat, might be a difficult question to answer, but as one of the leaders on this team, I wonder if you could take us back to last December when those two guys, Rhamondre and Trajan as well, and Perk, were suspended. How do you reconcile kind of what the rule is? And, those guys, for lack of a better word, they broke the rule, they served their penance. How do you reconcile that with kind of the unjust nature of having to sit out, not knowing whether they're going to play? And what was it like for the team during that time?
Personally, I'm not really so much a fan of the rule, just because Coach Riley, he's kind of mentioned it before, but whenever we're talking about what uh them failing the test or whatever it is, we have to look at it from not a disciplinary action, because if you just discipline them, suspend them, hold them out of games, but you don't do anything to help them or seek out the reasoning for that, then what are you really doing to help the college athlete? And then if we're looking at it from a perspective of you know them protecting us or them acting in our best nature, I don't think just disciplining them and disciplining them alone is very beneficial. But I applaud Coach Riley, because Coach Riley's completely changed his outlook on it, and he's gone well out of his way to make sure that we're getting all the help that we deserve and we need, and making sure that we're looking at things from a mental health perspective and the why for why guys are taking those actions. But it's just a difficult process, and it's been difficult for all of us because, like I said, those guys have been more than great, with handling this whole thing, because a lot of them really had to put their pride aside, and they go from being a guy who's a starter, a guy that we look to on Saturday to make plays, to be on a scout team. And a lot of people, that may be like, oh, I mean, that's part of football, but, that takes a lot to, put your pride aside, especially whenever you're dealing with, you're not playing. You go from a guy who's starting to not playing at all. Like, all that is extremely difficult to deal with mentally. Those guys have been like more than great with all that. And like, I can't say enough about them and how much I respect them, because like not too many guys can do that and, put their pride aside. But like, yeah, I would definitely like to see, the NCAA change their outlook on that. And especially, if they're going to discipline and not do anything to, I guess, help us or seek out the reasoning for the problem, then that's not very beneficial. And I would like to see that get changed. I think that we do need to push for that to get changed.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.
Go to James Hale with KREF, and then Bob Prisbillo.
Pat, over the last two games, on both sides of the ball, this team has become a lot better disciplined team. You guys are not busting on defense. You're breaking on the ball. There's a lot of positive things going on. Offense is not making penalties. So what's happened over the last couple of games?
I think it's just a commitment to falling in love with practice and falling in love with the process of things. We got to attack things from, just dumb things down. We got to focus for 10 seconds. We got to focus on one play. And then, one play turns into one series turns into one quarter, and then turns into half, and then 4 quarters. And we've just really dumbed things down and focused a lot on the process of things. We fell in love with the process all over again. And, our coaches say all the time, you get teams who are going to stay stagnant throughout the year, meaning they're not going to get better. And then you got teams that are going to continue to excel as, the year progresses. And, we want to be one of those teams who are continuously progressing. So each week and each day in practice, we're making an emphasis, what do I need to get better on today? And that's how we're attacking practice. If I need to get better at my press man, or if I need to get better at coming off the edge, or whatever it is, that's how we're attacking in practice every day. And we're really falling in love with the process of everything, enjoying things, lifting, practicing, watching film, being around with everybody. And I think that's just made us more unison and more uniform. And that's why, we're kind of excelling and progressing like the way we want to.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, let's go to Bob Prisbillo with Sooner Scoop, and then Caleb McCurry.
Yeah, Pat, as one of the leaders of the team, what kind of leadership will Ronnie bring? You tried to do that from the sidelines and scout team, but how different is it going to be now that he's back on the field?
It's huge. And I think it's just like it's from I guess, setting the tone perspective and the mentality perspective, because, we always say in football, everything starts up front, with the O-line and the D-line. And then whenever you get back, your key guys on the D-line or the O-line, it kind of just helps with setting the tone. Like if you have a big, nasty play, like a D-lineman gets a TFL, first play of the game or whatever it is, it helps to set the tone a lot better. So, we're definitely getting that aspect. And then, just him, helping on the D-line. We got some younger guys on the D-line, guys who are newer to playing, like Perion just got here, Josh, things like that. So having Perk back on the D-line is huge for those guys, because he's in the game, he's on the sideline, helping, give in-game adjustments, coaching points, things like that, as well as the help from, Coach Kane and Coach Ted.
Okay, let's go to Caleb McCurry and then Keegan Renault.
With everything he's been through, how big was Saturday for Trey Norwood to have those 2 interceptions? Just a big game overall.
It's huge, and I mean, like I said with Trey, he's a guy like, you know, even when he was out last year, he was at every single meeting. He dang near knew the defense and the adjustments for the week better than guys who are playing. And, you know, it's huge whenever you have guys like that who are so bought into committing to the team, despite however their personal things going. So, I mean, just seeing everything that, you know, Trey went through, because, you know, that's a guy who we're talking about was a starter as a true freshman. And, you know, for him, his last start was, I think, December 28th, 2018 or 19, whatever it is. You know, him going that long without starting, you know, that's tough, you know, especially with all the success he's had. So I'm extremely proud of Trey. But I mean, it's not really a surprise because Trey's always been a guy who's like, you never have to worry about. He's always on top of things. He's always handled his business. He's always helping others. So, I mean, it's no surprise to see, you know, Trey had that type of game. It was kind of just, you know, we were waiting on whenever it was going to come.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. Let's go to Keegan Renault with Sooners Wire.
Yeah, Pat, obviously with the way the defensive line's played the last two games specifically, and even going back to the Iowa State game, how do you guys feel that? Whether it's, you know, time you're having to cover people, whether you're seeing it, it seems like it's affecting the entire defense with the way that those guys are playing up front.
It's huge. And Coach Grinch, he gave statistics for us. You know, he was like the likelihood of you know, offense scoring in possession whenever there's a TFL, whenever there's a negative play, you know, it goes from whatever so to 30%, 40%, whatever the statistic was. But I mean, we definitely feel it that way because, you know, whenever you have a momentum play like that, a TFL, a sack, or, you know, if it's a strip sack, fumble recovery, whatever it is, it decreases the likelihood of the offense. And then, you know, it gives us momentum. And then, you know, whenever they're flying around like that, like, I mean, Perk had plays where he was coming out the stack and chasing guys 20, 30 yards downfield. You know, whenever your D-line is playing like that, it's like it makes things way more easier for you know, the whole entire defense because, you know, they're setting the tone. They're setting the tone with physical, aggressive play, and then everybody kind of follows suit.